Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Y'all, sorry I'm a little bit late with this, but I just been trying to make sure I had everything right for y'all. But welcome to my picking of episode 11 of this season exit. Where I see the things that support the theory from the episode we just watched, the theory that I put out there. Again, first of all, I want to thank y'all for all the comments y'all left me. That I really appreciate that. It lets me know that you guys are actually fans of this show, and you took the time out to listen to what it is I had to say and give me feedback. And for somebody to take time out their own personal life, to interact with you, that's everything. So first of all, thank y'all. Secondly, I want to give a thank you to the Lucky Dog podcast because he gave me a shout out on his video, his review for this episode. If you haven't seen that, please go to his page and take a listen because he goes in depth with what everything happened on the episode. If you guys missed it or you need some explanations on things that happened in the episode, please you guys go take a listen to his page. He does reviews on Mr. Robot, also on movies like The Joker, shows like Watchmen and things like that. So again, I appreciate that, man. The Lucky Dog podcast, bro. You're number one in my book. Also, I want to give a shout out to D's Reviews and Pete Peppers. They've been going in depth on Mr. Robot since season 1. If you guys, like I said, got some time and you want to listen to some more reviews on the show before the actual reveal in the 2-hour finale, y'all go take a listen to their pages too. Again, that's Pete Peppers and D's Reviews. Those guys they're awesome. And it's like once the show airs, I look for their reviews. I know they're not going to put a review up the instant the show ends, but I'm automatically looking for their reviews, guys. So you guys go show some love, subscribe, listen to some of the reviews, drop them some likes. I appreciate the community, y'all. Thank y'all. But as y'all know, I digress. Let's get into this episode because if you think about it, with the penultimate episode of any series, that is your last chance to drop any hits, leave some breadcrumbs or any morsels that you want the viewers to follow or find in order to see how this series is going to end. And I feel like with this, when the thing happened, when they did the thing finally, and I know some people are finally relieved, y'all get out the way, okay? They did the thing with the parallel universe, the parallel timeline, multiverse, multi-timeline, whatever y'all want to call it. Listen, I'm calling it the perfect world because I am not trying to get into any arguments with anybody about the technical terms of what this is. I know Whiterose said that she was going to do the thing happened, and we're here now, and I'm done with that. Okay. Back to this. All right. So yeah. Now there are some things in this episode that it is not gonna jump out to you immediately. I repeat, bro. The things are not gonna jump out to you immediately. In this episode, basically, as a fan of this show, you have to take everything that you've learned from watching season 1, episode 1 up until now and apply it to what you are seeing. And I will give you an example of what I mean by that. At this moment, everybody is confused about Darlene being able to see Mr. Robot after her and Elliot say goodbye. And, she says, ever since you stopped being such a dick, I've grown a little bit more fond of you. And people are confused by that. You shouldn't be. Because listen, let's go back a few seasons. Remember when Elliot went to go stay with Cisco and Darlene in the apartment and he was using the bathroom? And Cisco and Darlene started arguing. And all of a sudden, Elliot heard Mr. Robot talking to them, trying to calm them down outside the bathroom. And when he opened the door, they looked at each other. And all of a sudden, Elliot was where Mr. Robot was. And there was no walking scene. He didn't walk over there. He was just there. You guys, things like this have happened all the time. So meaning that, let's just picture it, use your Mr. Robot logic. When they were hugging, Elliot was in control. And when they let go and Darlene walked off, Mr. Robot could have assumed control and was walking with her and went to go sit on the car as she walked off. And before she left, she turned and realized that was Mr. Robot by the way he was sitting on the car and looking at her. And that's why she said what she said. You feel me? So you guys have to think like that. Use what we've seen. There is proof of this throughout the series that things like that happen. So yeah. Now we get the montage of Elliot, walking to the Washington Township E Corp, the facility where Whiterose has her machine at, and it's fairly easy for him to get in there because Whiterose and the Dark Army came through and cleaned house, as they always been saying. So when he finally gets, to the computer, he puts the rubber ducky or the USB in, and he puts in the malware, and he's sitting there like, it's all over. And then he looks and he sees that the leg, and he realizes that something's wrong. My thing is, when you came up the stairs, that should have been one of the first things you saw. The leg was in the whole aisle. And, that should have been in your line of sight, bro. But I know you probably was focused on getting your malware through. So, I'll give you a pass on that. But then, Sandwich Dude, Panini guy, he comes up and he escorts Elliot down to the room where Whiterose is. But did anybody else notice that when he was in the hallway, he almost actually finished the sandwich? But when he got in the elevator, it's like the sandwich regenerated and it became almost a half a sandwich again. And it's like, in my mind, I'm like, bro, is this man like hack food? Is that what his thing is? He hacks food? So it's like, bro, and he always has a damn sandwich. So I'm like, bro, that's probably what his thing is. Whiterose, she hack. Everybody has their fixations. You hack people. I hack time. Sandwich guy hacks food. That's what it is. And I'm leaving it at that. But, Elliot, he gets into the room. And when he gets into the room, he sees his fish that he had in that window. And that's a callback to the fish he's always been feeding. And you remember in the episode, I think when he was having those withdrawal dreams and he was having dinner with Angela and she was eating the fish. And he was like, is that, I forgot what the fish's name was, but she was like, yeah. And she was cutting up the fish. That's his old fish. You feel me? So he looks at the desk and he sees the computer he says he used to have. There was a blue rotary phone. And blue has been prevalent through this episode. Y'all keep that in mind as well. And then he sees the book on the table. And from what he told Whiterose, when he said this isn't going to work. And she was like, what are you talking about? She's like, he said the computer I used to have, the book my dad used to read. So apparently this book is a book his dad used to read. Let's pause for a second. Because you guys listen, I had to go balls deep on this book. I needed to know what the significance was with this book because of how this scene played out with it. But before I get into what I found about the book, let's continue. They have the little dialect between those two where Whiterose says that she's always cared about people and giving them a second chance was always her motivations, whereas hatred and anti-socialism, it was always Elliot's badge of honor, his MO. And, Elliot gives that speech about how people are special, especially the ones that never give up on you and love you. But anyway, yeah, that was a pretty good, back and forth between those two. But before that scene was giving me all the super villain hero vibes. You feel me? You like any show or movie you watch, when the hero finally comes into the room with the bad guy and the bad guy has the switch in his hand. It's like, you only have 5 seconds before I activate this switch and there's nothing you can do. And the hero's like, well, we rewired all the connections for the switch, so it's not going to work. It's over. Well, we knew you'd try that and we rerouted the wire, so therefore the switch is still in connection with them. And like, bro, goddamn, okay? And that's basically, like I said, the vibes I was getting when he was like, we've activated machine. And Elliot was like, well, I've injected the malware. It's not going to work. It's going to melt down. And Whiterose is like, well, we knew you'd do that, but we've activated machine before you put the malware in. So have several seats. And it's like, God, Jesus Christ. Like, the tension was real. But, then she goes on and says that it's Elliot's choice as to what was going to happen and shoots herself. Was I the only one that thought that, as this scene played out, she was going to pop back up and say some slick shit like, see, I told you reality is only what you think it is. And this, that, and the third, you feel me? But it didn't play out that way. And so he starts playing the game on the machine. Now, it's a whole different game. Elliot starts talking to her, and she says that, the choice is yours, and she shoots herself. And so now first, he's trying to get out of the room and the door's locked, and Mr. Robot appears and says that, we need to find the code for the door. Go ahead and try the phone. So, all right. Okay. He picks the phone up, right? And the first voice says 0509. And in case you missed that Easter egg, that's the date of the hack, 0509. But then a second voice says something in another language. Listening to the language, I believe that the second voice was also giving the same code, because the first syllable was the same as the third syllable. You feel me? It's like in that code 050. The third syllable was 0. The first syllable was 0. So in that language, the first syllable was the same as the third syllable, meaning that was also the code. But I don't know what language that is. If anybody knows what language that is, please hit me in the comments. But then he looks down at that book. And he has a moment. And when he has that moment, the voice says the code in English again, 0509. And then the voice again says the code, and he gives it to Mr. Robot, and they open the door. The book. Okay. From what like I said, I had to go balls deep on this book, y'all. So bear with me. This is what I found. The book is a Russian, is by, a Russian author named Tolstoy. And like I said, it came out in, like, I want to say, the 1900s, early 1860s or whatever. And it wasn't publicized in English until 1960. So Russia borders Denmark and Sweden. And as we know from Irving, when he referred to Tyrell Wellick as the Swede, Tyrell Wellick is Swedish. And I believe Joanna is Danish. Now think about this also. Go back to the episode when Elliot and Tyrell have the conversation in the SUV and they get out, and Tyrell Wellick makes the quote about what is it, the red wheelbarrow being glazed with rainwater, and he says that was a poem his dad used to say, and it was the only piece of English his dad knew, meaning that his dad has to be Swedish. That is the connection I made from all the clues that I've gotten. His dad has to be Swedish. But I digress. And they say, well, okay, so what? What's the point? Now, what I'm saying is, I'm going to also point this out there. As we know, Elliot's dad, and from what I can see from his mom, they have two different nationalities. And this goes into the theory. I don't know if you guys have heard this one before about how Mr. Robot may have actually switched the perceptions of his parents in Elliot's mind, meaning that his mom might have actually been the caring one, seeing as she's always with little Elliot, holding him and protecting him, and his dad may have actually been the abusive one that they always talk about, the bad things that they did. His perception of his parents may have been switched, so meaning that his mom might have been, and I quote, the white one, and his dad might have actually been the one with the other nationality, which is Swedish. So I'm guessing that's what we're getting into, because like I said, one different language on the phone, the Russian origin book, Tyrell being Swedish, apparently, those are the dots that I got from that. Okay. So they sit at the computer and Elliot puts the disc in, and like I said, I thought one or two things was going to happen. I thought either he was going to pull up Angela's data from the game when she played it with little Angela, because as you know, when little Angela sat down, she put in Angela Moss as the character name and all that other stuff, created a little profile. And then afterwards, she took the disc and walked out of the room. You feel the same game that Angela played. Okay. But neither one of those happened. So I was wrong on that. Okay. But then, he plays the game. And in case you guys missed it, I'm going to just basically summarize what happened in the game. In the game, there's a barrel in front of a tunnel. He goes through the tunnel. His friend hands him a note. He can't read the note because it's too dark. He keeps going, gets out, sees a boat, gets on the boat. Congratulations, he's in the new world. But he thought he won the game, but at the same time, all the sirens and everything are still going on, and the machine's still going. So he knew something had to be wrong. Now, in the second playthrough of this game, Instead of moving the barrel to go through the tunnel, he sits with the friend. The friend hands him the note. He lights a match to read the note. It says, "Don't leave me here. What do you do?" And he decides to stay with the friend. Now, I don't know, okay? But is it me, or did this game just parallel basically what he was doing just now? And I think about this for a second. There might have, it's not going to be verbatim word for word, but symbolism. Think about this for a second. Okay. He's in the cave, which is reminiscent of the room they're in right now. There is a barrel in front of the door, the lock to the door. What do? Move the barrel. They put the code in and open the door. You walk through, but then at the same time, something happens. You feel me? You walk through the door, get through the tunnel. That part didn't happen. You feel me? The second playthrough is what actually happened. There's a barrel in front of the door. What do? You sit with the friend. Him and Mr. Robot are there. He hands you a note saying, "Don't leave me here." What do? You stay. And in that, when he was doing the second playthrough, do you see the conflict he was having in his mind? I feel like that was him and Mr. Robot having the conflict in their mind, because at the end, instead of leaving, Mr. Robot decided to sit and stay with him. You feel me? Because he knew it was over and the machine was going to go off anyway. So I think that game was actually a parallel for the situation of what is happening right now, because before Whiterose shot herself, she said, "The choice is yours." So then we get the screen turning red, and we wake up, and Elliot has the phone going off saying, "Wake up call, wake up call." And then for the first time, he lets the sun into the room and everything like that. So I'm like, okay, that's new. And when he opens the window, the walls are blue, the same blue as the phone in the room. Like I said, blue is prevalent through this episode for some reason. I don't know. I haven't peeped that yet. But if you guys know, like I said, hit me in the comments. Okay. So, he's getting dressed, snapping in the shower and everything, put on a whole little collar shirt, sweater, white shoes, some slacks, and then you get the phone call from Angela. So Angela's alive. We now realize that in this perfect world, Angela's alive. And they're talking about the presentation he has, and you're just going to kill it, and this, that, and the third. I can't wait to marry you tomorrow, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, okay. Now, this is a little, it's a little too sweet for me, but hey, some people been waiting for this. They wanted this in their life, so y'all got it. Congratulations. But I noticed on this phone call, though, in the bottom right corner, like when you're on FaceTime and the little screen that shows what you look like to the other person, on his, it was blurry. I don't know if that was on purpose or, just saying that he was just focused on Angela and not what was going on around him. I don't know if that is the symbolism from that. But that little screen of him was blurry, and to me, it looked like him. I don't know. Somebody said it looked like Sam Esmail. I'm like, yeah, okay, show me the Carfax. But to me, it looked like Elliot, because they had the same little box haircut that he had, and all the facial expressions was matching up what he was doing and everything. So I didn't think too much into that, but I think that might have been something to jump out at you, that his face was blurry. So then we get the shot of him going to All Safe and everything like that. And he runs into Angela's ex. I believe his name is Ollie. And bro, this was my favorite scene of this whole episode, when he was curving this man, because he kept trying, like, for lack of better phrase, this dude was literally all on Elliot's dick, bro. Like, he was like, bro, you're gonna get the meeting, and you're gonna slam it, and I just want to know if I could be on your team when you make it. And Elliot was like, basically, nah. And so he was like, bro, I could sell sand to an Arabian, and I can sell snow to an Eskimo. I'm like, bro. Elliot was like, I don't think that's helping you any. The dude was like, I think that's also borderline racist. I'm like, bro, man, this shit is too much. But I love that Elliot was curving him. So then we get the presentation with F Corp. The connection. If y'all missed that, F Society and E Corp had a baby, and now this company is all for the benefit of mankind and not just trying to use people to make money and this, that, and the third. They're all for the benefits of mankind now. Great. So they have the meeting, and then Tyrell Wellick, this was reminiscent of the other episode when he was like, can me and him have the room? Tyrell Wellick says, can we have the room? And everybody gets out. So now we're not in that office that is reminiscent, mirroring the office in the mind world where all the personalities come and meet. We're not in that office anymore. That office does not exist. We're in this new office now. That's the thing. So they're talking, and y'all know I almost lost my mind at this point when he hits Elliot. As it says, I don't think this place is a right fit for us. I'm like, bruh, is this it? I said, is this it? And Elliot was like, why? He was like, tell me, Elliot, what's the worst thing in your life right now? I said, bruh, he's trying to snap him back. He's trying to let him know this ain't real and he needs to wake up. And Elliot was like, well, the best thing in my life is also the worst thing in my life. Or well, the worst thing in my life is also the best thing in my life, basically because he does the same thing on repeat. There's no changes and everything is great. And Tyrell Wellick says, and also Elliot goes on and says that, but sometimes he wishes that he was more of a risk taker, a more interesting person. And Tyrell Wellick says, I think the same thing about my job at F Corp. I pause. If you go back to my previous video, I said the whole reason why the Elliot personality exists is because Tyrell Wellick works at E Corp. And, he lives that life where he's married and he's basically the suit and tie person. But when he's Elliot, he's more free and he's able to be who he wants to be, who he really is. Does this not coincide with what I said? I mean, if I'm reaching, y'all tell me, but I said this in my last video, and then this was also reiterated between the two of them here. I'm on it, y'all. I told y'all I'm on it. Sam, you're trying to test me, and I think I'm passing, bro. I think I'm passing. Now, they go on and like I said, Tyrell says, he feels the same way. And, his company has also always stood for the people, that could also be a bad thing. And he just does not want his company to go down that path. And Elliot is like, I've seen what your company, what can happen to your company. And Tyrell's like, you can? And Elliot was like, yeah. I've made all the spreadsheets, of every situation that had blah, blah, blah. And Tyrell's like, wait. I just need to know that you're on my side. And Elliot says, always. Now, what I gathered from this and the scene from when he got on the phone with his dad is that in this world, instead of them being of one mind, they are all their own separate entities, and they now have the relationship like healthy people. They willingly communicate with each other and have a better relationship in this world. Basically, the mirror opposite relationship of the real world. And then it goes into me saying that this is what I pictured from this also. Mr. Robot tells Elliot, the one who created him, that he'll always be there for him. Tyrell Wellick, who I said is basically the main character named Elliot, but his real name is Elliot Alderson, tells Elliot that I just need to know that you're always on my side. And Elliot says, always. You feel me? Sam, I'm telling you, basically those two scenes ended in almost the exact same note with almost the exact same lines. And then you get Elliot in the restaurant with Mr. Robot, and I had to rewind it for 5 seconds and then come back, and I noticed that Mr. Robot and Tyrell Wellick, the ones that I said are the alternate personalities that were created, Mr. Robot and Tyrell Wellick are dressed almost the exact same way. Slick hair, parted slick hair, glasses, top button undone on the shirt, jacket over the collar shirt. I'm like, Sam, bro, at this point, you are just playing with me. It's like you're dangling the carrot right there in front of my face, bro. And I'm like, I see it. But I feel like if I come to everybody with this, they're gonna feel like I'm doing too much, bro. Coincidence. Remember, Whiterose says. Remember the guy asked that. I thought you said you don't believe in coincidence. I don't believe in fucking coincidence when it comes to this show. I'm sorry, y'all. And this is too much of a coincidence right here in this screenshot for me to just dismiss it like, okay. No. I know that is not passing me by, y'all. I am sorry. And remember when Elliot first came to All Safe and the guy behind the desk was like, "You're usually so stone cold." And I was like, "What you mean, bro?" Who's the only person that was stone cold? Tyrell. Tyrell was always cold when it came to people other than Elliot and his wife. Other than that, he was very direct, cold, and straight to the point with all of them. I'm telling y'all. Like I said, the quotes now we get to the point where Elliot, perfect world Elliot goes to the well, first of all, before I get there, he's at the restaurant with Mr. Robot and he tries to call Angela's mom. And then it's like, from what I've seen, she picks up the phone but doesn't say anything. And he was like, that's weird. And so he goes to Angela's apartment or her condo and looks in the trash can and there's a broken glass with blood on the towel and everything. I don't know what the significance of that was. If somebody knows, please hit me in the comments. But I really don't understand the significance of the blood on the tissue and the broken glass. But he gets on the phone, him and Angela are doing this whole... By this point, y'all, it was just too much sweetness for me. I'm like, ugh, yeah, really? Is it because I'm gonna marry you tomorrow? I'm like, oh my God, bro. Ugh. Please, somebody save me. But then we get the scene of Elliot walking into his apartment and our Elliot's there. Now, what I'm guessing is happening is what we've been getting this whole time is basically a vision of how this parallel perfect world works. Like the existence of Elliot in that perfect world before our Elliot was thrust into it. I feel like at the end of the episode is when our Elliot finally arrives to this new parallel time world or perfect world, as I said, I've been calling it. So I think that's what that is, because like I said, sometimes, Sam likes to shoot a beforehand. It's all about the framing and the transitions with this show, guys. The framing, the transitions, the wording. You got to pay attention to a lot of this stuff. So I think that's what it was. All of the events that we saw in the second act of this show happened before our Elliot was thrust into it. That's why I think he's been getting those headaches this whole time. You feel me? Because his parallel self was coming to the same world as him. They were coinciding, they were existing together, and something was doing something to his mind. I think that's what that was. So yeah, y'all, like I said, those are the things that I peeped from this episode. If I missed something, let me know. If y'all have something else that supports y'all theories that happened in this episode, hit me in the comments. Because like I said, all the people in my theory were here. They were present. They all owned their own businesses and had a good relationship with Elliot versus the relationship they had in the real world. So, y'all, y'all saw what the caption for the finale. Y'all saw the caption. The truth will finally be revealed. And we got 2 hours for this. I'm predicting that once we get the reveal, they're going to go back and show us the scenes as they really happened. I think that's what I think that's going to happen in, what is it, Payload Too Large? I said that before. I think it's called that episode because of all the reveals and juice we're going to get. It's going to be mind-blowing. It's going to be an overload. The payload is going to be so large for this. I think that's why he titled it that. But the hour before that, we're going to get our Elliot arriving to Perfect World. And looking around and seeing all the things that exist there, and finally saying that this ain't real. You got to go back, and then we're gonna get the reveal some way somehow. That's what I'm predicting for next week, because you know those previews, those promos they give us don't really give us too much. We just know who's gonna be in the episode and the central conflict, but as the in between of the episode, we don't really get too much about that, you guys. So again, thank y'all for y'all time. I'ma probably sometime before Sunday do a whole series review from season 1 to season 4 with all the things that I've been seeing through watching the series in chronological order, instead of being, you know, like I was in my previous video, all over the place with it. But I'm gonna have it in chronological order, like I said, so y'all can see how it is from my perspective, you guys. Again, I want to give a shout out to the Lucky Dog Podcast, These Reviews, Pete Peppers, y'all. Y'all go holler at them, take a look at their page, drop them some likes, you know, subscribe to them because they have ongoing content. You guys, you know, I just popped up here from out of nowhere, so you know I'm not as consistent with it as those guys are, and they have a whole spectrum of reviews that they do. So you might find something that you watch and didn't know that those guys are reviewing it. So go take a look at their page, y'all. And again, I appreciate y'all time, and I'll holler at y'all later, y'all. We almost there, and I'm almost right. Let me stop now. I'm just playing, y'all.